It is Monday, the 8th of June 2020, and this is the MMA Movement live chat. I'm your host, Robert Palin, and this is the second time I've done this intro because for the last 5 to 7 minutes, I thought we were live and we were chatting away and doing the whole spiel. So, if you don't know who I am, and it's not because of the dodgy haircut, it's because you haven't subscribed to the channel, so do that right now. And if you don't know who this man is, and it's not because of the hat, that's Sean Taylor, and you haven't subscribed to the channel, so do that also. So there was a big weekend for MMA last weekend, and that's kind of the reason why we wanted to do this live chat today, because there's a lot of things, including the Conor McGregor retirement, we'll say that, and of course the card, which was main evented by Amanda Nunes for her featherweight title, but really for me it was the bantamweights, the men's bantamweights that did the trick. So Sean, first things first, before we move on to everything, and I know we've gone through this already, but how are you?
I'm all right, man. It was all right 5 minutes ago. Still all right. Had a quiet weekend, so stayed up to watch the fights on Saturday night. God sent that the card ended early thanks to Sean O'Malley, Cody Garbrandt, and Aljamain Sterling getting that shit done quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was nice.
Let us know in the live chat if Luke Thomas is still live, because I did see it before, when we were doing part one of this show about 10 minutes ago. It looked like him and Brian Campbell were still live on Morning Combat. So once they leave and once everybody migrates over to us, we'll have a bit of crack. But I want to jump straight into the card last weekend, Sean. I'm sure there's a few questions there in the chat already, but if not, we're just going to talk about the main event and then we'll kind of do some questions and talk about everything. I have a hat here in case people start slagging me.
I've never seen your hair that short, Rob, I have to say.
Either. Well, last time, do you know what? I looked at a picture from 2012, and that's the last time my hair has been this fucking short. And do you know what the worst thing is, Sean? Right? So remember I told you I ordered the scissors. So I only had a kitchen scissors, so I could do the sides with the thing and it was alright. So I had a kitchen scissors. I was like, I'm not going to touch the top of my hair with painful. That. Yeah, and I'm not going to do it. Like, it's just going to ruin everything. I might as well shave it. So the scissors that I ordered, the proper barber one, never came. I ended up getting a refund for it, and then I just said fuck it, got the number 8, shaved it off. The fucking things came today.
No.
Shaved off yesterday. Unbelievable, right?
That's a kick in the teeth.
Yeah, sure. It'll grow back. But yeah, let's jump straight into this main card. Amanda Nunes wins by decision against Felicia Spencer in what was a good performance in my mind. I think people have kind of overblown it a little bit. Like, I'm all on the Amanda Nunes hype train. She's great and she probably is the GOAT. But like, I don't know. It seemed like afterwards, because of that performance, a lot of people are saying, can she compete with men? And like, I understand that considering what she has done over the last while, but like, that performance for me wasn't the reason why you talk about that. It was the other performances. That was a good performance against somebody who was clearly outmatched. Do you disagree?
Yeah. No, like the can she compete with men thing, it doesn't really interest me, that discussion at all. I don't see the point of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was a flawless performance. She looked good. She was just totally dominant in every department. But we knew all this about Amanda beforehand. She didn't show us anything new, and that's not a criticism at all, but it was never going to be a fight where we were going to learn anything new about Amanda Nunes.
Yeah. That's how I felt. Like, I mean, what I thought she'd done well was, at this point in her career, we always talk about it, when everybody are so, like, not critical, but like they love her so much that they're almost throwing so much praise at them. Kind of like when, say, Anderson Silva lost for the first time, and it just feels like it's gonna happen any moment with somebody it shouldn't happen with. And what I felt she done well was she was very composed, probably like even more so than I thought she was gonna be. But I guess the negative of that is that maybe she didn't look for the finish as much as I thought she might have. Now, it could have probably been stopped in the fourth, going into the fifth. We can talk about that, but I thought it was a good performance. But I just thought that the level of opposition was clearly a lot less than what it probably should be at this point in her career.
Yeah, it was a pretty risk-averse performance. I mean, she didn't put herself in any spot where she ever really looked in danger. Again, not a criticism. But yeah, I thought she looked really good. But we expected her to look really good as well.
That's the thing, yeah. Like, I mean, I think she met expectations. It was a very good performance, but I don't think she moves up a peg in terms of like how I feel she is as a fighter. But good performance. Not really sure what she does next. I mean, it seems like most people are talking about Valentina Fought twice. One of them was quite close, but like, again, we're looking outside the weight classes, aren't we, to see if we can get her a fight, which is not ideal.
Yeah, Dana didn't seem pretty keen on that third the trilogy fight with Valentina as well, which I totally understand in this case, to be honest. I'm not mad keen on it myself. I've seen it twice. He sort of mentioned maybe if Woodley gets a couple of wins. Woodley's massive at that weight as well, so who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
But again, looking outside the weight classes.
Yeah. What I want to do is I want to jump into this bantamweight discussion as well, because there's not too much to be said about that main event. You know, she looked great stuff. If there's any questions about it, let us know. Throw it into the live chat. That's what makes this thing good. And make sure you do hit that like button. Did I say what we were doing this on Monday? I think I did. Obviously no live chat tomorrow. This is Tuesday's usual. If you're new here and you're wondering, the live chat is usually a Tuesday. So just for the future, in case you're looking out. Yeah. So in the co-main event, it was Cody Garbrandt against Rafael Assunção, and Cody Garbrandt wins in the second round with 1 second left with a beautiful right hook, I believe it was, that he threw from his hip. Oh my God. Yeah, it was an unbelievable performance. On top of two other unbelievable performances at bantamweight, and then one that wasn't at bantamweight, but it was a bantamweight fighter in Cody Stamen, if that makes sense. But yeah, Cody Garbrandt, man, what a win. Yeah,
looked really good, really measured, really like slick, really sharp, looked really good. The knockout, I mean, they're probably just picking up Assunção now from wherever he landed when he got knocked out. He sent him into next week.
Yeah.
I seen Andrew Hibbs in the chat there said that Cody should be on a GBH charge because of that knockout.
Yeah, man, it was like the epitome of a pot shot, because it was just like, boom, gone. You know, it was so beautiful, and it came out of nowhere as well, because what I found very impressive about his performance was similar to Amanda Nunes, except Cody Garbrandt never does this, is that he was fighting smart, he was fighting to a game plan.
Yeah.
I believe some people, like I know Luke Thomas was talking about this, that he felt like he was almost doing it to a fault, but like that's one of the things I found most impressive about his performance, because apart from, as we always talk about, the Cruz fight, it seems like he can't really do that. It seems like he just gets dragged into a brawl. Now, I think Assunção is the perfect type of fighter for Cody not to get dragged into a brawl, because Assunção doesn't like the brawl either. So I think that's an advantage. So I'm not going to say that Cody Garbrandt is back to his best, because if he goes in there and fights TJ Dillashaw tomorrow, I think he's going to like drop his hands and swing from the hips constantly throughout the whole fight. So I think is there any questions about Cody actually? Or
I don't think you could criticize him on any point about fighting to the game plan to a fault there, because he was in a similar enough situation to Darren Till there, where he was coming off back-to-back losses, 3 in his case. This one was just all about getting a win, I think.
Yeah.
Even if he'd win there and looked really poor, but got a win.
Yeah, I completely agree. Salvastola, make it good. I already liked it. We will do. People might as well follow and like it. How do you feel about Cody versus Dom? I think it would make a great headliner. I actually really liked that fight. Just because, you know, Dom was out for a while. They have history. Cody beat him. And now Dom is coming off a loss, but it's in a title fight, so I still think it kind of makes a bit of sense. I actually kind of like it.
There's a lot of fun there if you want to play matchmaker at Bantam now. There's quite a lot of fun there. I mean, Aljo is next in line. We were talking about this earlier, that I can't understand the logic behind making Peter Yan and Jose Aldo. I think Aljo has to get that shot. And then there's a lot of fun fights out there for Aldo. I don't see why they're pigeonholing him into he has to get a title shot.
Yeah. Do you know what? Josh Thompson on his podcast said this earlier, and I think there's some merit to it. That, like, you have these really young guys, well, you know, young enough, but I guess probably not that experienced at the highest level. Like, they haven't been main eventing, like Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling and stuff like that. And like, if you put two of them in a title fight, so for example, Aljamain Sterling and Corey Sandhagen on the weekend, if you put a title fight on that, you know, that's great for the hardcore fans, but like for casual fans and for what the UFC want is eyes on the product, and what the fighters want is their notoriety to go up. It's probably not the best because they're two, kind of youngish prospects. Aljo, again, has kind of been around a long time. But, it's not like a pay-per-view draw. It's just not.
Yeah.
But if you throw Jose Aldo in there, suddenly it makes it that. And even though he's taken the place of somebody else, that other person who is expected to win, so Peter Yan, for example, if he wins the title and beats Jose Aldo, it means a lot more for his career to the casual fan than it does to beat like an Aljamain Sterling or a Corey Sandhagen. So, while I don't like it, and I think it makes zero sense in terms of rankings and in terms of merit, I think in the long term, if Peter Yan goes in there and absolutely sparks Jose Aldo, which I think a lot of people think he will do, that actually could be a very good thing for him, because then he can go on, you can fight the Aljos, you can fight the Corey Sandhagens, So it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one.
I get it from that perspective. My counter argument to that discussion would be that I don't think Yan and Aldo is a pay-per-view headliner anyway. It's probably going to be a co-main. Maybe in the current circumstances it is, but in normal circumstances I think that's a co-main event.
Yeah, I probably agree with that. I just think it's
so
probably.
I think you can do Yan and whoever in a co-main event with a title on the line.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, but I still think it means more for a Yan to be an Aldo at this point in his career, which I think that's what the UFC probably expect.
I get it.
Probably. Yeah. But yeah, let's jump back in and see if there's any more questions about the card in particular. I'm going to jump into the community tab if you want to have a look at the live chat there, Sean.
And how much do you think Mark Henry had to do with Cody Garbrandt's win from Jan van den Bos? Quite a lot, I would guess, to be honest.
Yeah, he looked quite different in the first two rounds. For the whole fight, until that last shot, he looked like a different guy, or at least he looked more refined. So I think so. He was following a game plan that he generally doesn't follow. So
I think it was just something to freshen up the camp. I mean, it probably, I don't mean stale in a derogatory way, but you can get a little bit entrenched in patterns and routines in a camp. So it probably done him no harm to get a change up there with Mark Henry.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Did you hear Cody in his post-fight press talking about TJ and EPO?
No.
Everyone knew TJ was on EPO apparently. So apparently the whole of Team Alpha Male were aware that TJ was doing EPO.
So I don't know if that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's funny hearing Cody talk about it because it kind of outs Team Alpha Male as well.
Well, he's done that before in a presser.
Yeah.
Remember with Cody? Oh, with TJ, sorry.
Done it again, yeah.
That has been everywhere. Like all the MMA fails that's been there. You think you would have learned by now. Probably shouldn't say that. Gas. Gonna jump into the community tab because there is some questions in here. Seems like Marlon Moraes has gotten the shit end of the stick. Technically, he beat Aldo, and nobody is talking about him anymore.
Aldo.
He did.
Quite
He did beat Aldo
to Peter Aldo. No, sorry, go on.
Isn't this what Dana White said? Right? He came out. Is this what you told me?
Yeah.
He came out and
Dana White said he was trying. They were talking about Jan and Aldo, and I think it was John Morgan asked Dana White, would you consider doing Aljo and Peter Yan now after that performance? And Dana said no, and he went on some classic bullshit promoter speak about why this is the fight to make. And he said, technically Aldo won his last fight, and I was like, well, no, he quite factually lost his last fight. His record says he lost it. He didn't technically win anything.
Yeah.
You absolute bluffer.
Yeah. So this is what I said to you, Sean, and it's different, but in the sense it's the same. In effect, it's the exact same thing. What's the difference from these Russian promotions? Remember that Russian promotion? I think it was it ACB? I don't want to say it's ACB, but it was them. Who essentially there was a close decision on a card, and somebody who was affiliated with the promoter or the promoter's gym or whatever lost the close decision. So what they did was they said that they had judges, these anonymous judges, review it afterwards, and said that these judges thought that actually the guy who was affiliated with the promotion won. So they changed it to a no contest. Now, obviously this is different. Dana didn't do that, but in effect, Dana is saying, I thought Aldo won, so let's give him the spot that the winner should be getting.
Yeah.
In effect, it's the same thing. Like, just doesn't show on his record. It's I think it's horrendous, to be honest.
Yeah, it stinks. And it is again just a case of the UFC doing what they want to do.
Yeah, but that is true. Like Marlon Moraes, he had a great run, lost that fight, the title fight, and then like he beat Aldo, and since then like nobody's been talking about him. Like everyone's talking about. Like I think Sean O'Malley is getting more hype for a title fight than Marlon Moraes, and Sean O'Malley is still a ways away. Like amazing performance, great fighter, but like still a ways away. Bit mad. So we talk about this Conor stuff, and we'll get back to the card. So I think it was at the end of the card, was it, John? It was like just as the card was finishing, Conor McGregor.
Like 5 or 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
So just as the card was finishing.
So like
he's obviously enjoying a few tipples himself.
Yeah. So he is in Ireland, so like it was quite late, and he posted this. So take from that what you will. And he said that he's retired. He says, pick a house and whatever. Like, do you believe him, Sean? Do you believe him this time?
No, I think McGregor used the term retirement very loosely for just when he's not going to fight for a while. I think he has like a different definition for retirement. Like this is his 3rd time in 4 years retiring.
Yeah.
And the issue isn't money, according to what he said to Ariel. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
It's the fights, isn't it? The fight you want.
Yeah, the issue is the matchmaking. Him and the UFC disagree on who he should fight next. He wants Gaethje. Seems to be the only fight that he wants because he thinks Khabib is out for a while. So it's not retirement. It's just we disagree on who you should fight. So he's not going to fight for a while, but then a fight will come up that he's like, okay, I'll have that, and then he's back. It's not retirement. It's just not fighting for a while.
The exact same thing happened at UFC 200, or kind of around UFC 200, where he didn't want to do the press that the UFC wanted him to do, and he retired thanks to the cheese, that spiel. And then the UFC and him kind of made up. Probably got less promotion to do. I can't remember exactly when he fought at UFC 202 against Nate Diaz. I can't remember the level of promotion, but I don't think it was that much. It was like a pre-fight press conference or something like that. So sorted out. So do I think that they will sort out? Yeah. Do I think that it's linked with all the other pay related stuff? Not technically, but in a similar way. I think it's an indictment on the UFC's practices, I guess. But like, I think a lot of fans probably won't take his side on this one because most fans want to see the fight with Khabib, as in the Gaethje fight. Yeah,
I don't think you're going to find too many friends on this one. Like I came down the stairs on Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, when I got up, and my mum was asking me, "Oh, this was McGregor fighting last night, like and stuff."
Yeah.
So.
Someone said that to me as well before I think someone said it before I even seen it, because I was obviously trying to avoid social media. Like, did McGregor retire? I was like, what? Fuck.
Yeah. So he gets everyone talking. I think it's definitely in his mind that the lightweight, he is somewhat the odd one out in that lightweight division at the minute. I mean, there isn't a clear and obvious fight for him. I know like the Diaz one makes sense and stuff, but there isn't a fight that's calling out for McGregor right now.
No.
And I think it is kind of something to do with staying relevant.
I understand in a way why he's talking about, like, it seems like the Khabib one won't be for a while, and I think he believes that it may not happen when they think it's going to happen, so I kind of understand that, but still, the whole retirement thing is getting very, very old.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Yeah,
he's not retiring. Like, I'll be utterly amazed if he retires. I'll lay anyone a bet on him fighting again.
Do you think the UFC budges on it though?
I don't know. Oh, you're getting self-conscious.
I gotta do it now. Yeah, I gotta do it. No one said that in the chat yet, but I gotta do it.
I don't know. I think this would be an interesting one now to see if this is one that they would budge on, because it doesn't seem that money is the issue with this one. But they're kind of in a position now where they can wait it out a bit longer.
Yeah.
Because of the guarantees and the contracted revenue. But I don't know how long they can go without their stars before ESPN start saying, like, we signed up to have these guys. Yeah.
Like, there's like, that's kind of what I think we might have said this last week, didn't we? Like, we were talking about how they have this new deal. They only have to put on shows, essentially. They don't really need to put the big stars on the shows. Not necessarily. Like, I mean, they do, but they don't. But, like, how long will that last before their partners are saying, like, we signed up for the big stars as well. We don't just want, ranked number 15 against ranked number 14. We want the Conor McGregors, we want the John Joneses. So especially when it comes back to renegotiating with them, like if the UFC can't produce those big stars and give them big numbers, because like what was the ESPN Plus sign-ups when McGregor fought? Remember McGregor fought and the ESPN sign-ups were like huge, and the pay-per-views were like
500,000 or something.
Yeah, and the pay-per-views were like really big, especially for the ESPN era stuff. So yeah, I think it goes back to that. And also, did you hear Dana White actually? This is one thing that stood out to me in the press conference, was he was asked directly about Conor, and then I think he brought it back to the whole fighter pay thing, and he was saying like, well, you know, if they don't want to fight, then you know we have all these young guys who want to fight, and we'll make them loads of money, and like that just kind of, that's like, I remember watching The Irishman, you know, the Scorsese movie, and it's about like the Teamsters union, and like essentially unions are essentially to like have the bargaining power for everybody, and then sometimes you have like these other people who aren't part of the union and come in for cheaper. Essentially what Dana was like saying was like that anti-union thing of like, well, if you want to like bargain for more money, we'll just get someone in who's cheaper. It was like that perfect kind of thing that really stood out to me.
Every one of Dana's arguments to the whole fighter pay thing can just be deconstructed so simply, except he just shouts the loudest.
Yeah.
He gets all red and he gets his hands get animated and he's talking like this. You know exactly what I'm
He
talking
doesn't
about,
say
right?
anything though. Yeah, he doesn't say anything. He just kind of says, ah.
Yeah, it's classic politicians bullshit where he talks without saying anything.
Yeah. But that's the problem, like with the whole union thing, is like you really just need everybody to get together. And even though there was that survey on The Athletic saying, was it 80% were in favour of a union? Something really high. It was like 80%. Yeah. Are you going to get 80% of UFC/MMA fighters to actually sign up to something like this? I don't know. It's hard.
Even if you get them to sign up, they're all contracted.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? I said this to you earlier. I don't see anything changing as long as Dana White is there. I think he's in too deep to actually make any massive structural changes to how fighters are compensated. I think as long as Endeavour are there now, especially for the foreseeable with Endeavour anyway, I think the UFC is a cash cow because all of their other businesses are out of action at the minute. They have a lot of debt that needs repaying. They're not going to cut into their own revenues or their own profits. So
yeah, and like, yeah, they've no reason to, like, there's no push. So yeah, it's a weird one. Let me go into this. Let me go to the live chat because there's some people in the live chat. There was a question about the smaller octagon. Who was that? Jan Vanderbos. Loving the smaller octagon. Do you guys think it makes a difference? I like the events in the Apex. Looks good on TV. I actually said that. I really like the Apex as a venue. I think it's really cool. And like I've always said, the smaller octagon is better. Especially for the smaller guys, because like there's just less room to move. Like I'd love to see an actual I don't know, a study done on it to see if does it actually produce more strikes landed, does it produce more finishes. I think it does, but like I don't know, it seems like it does.
I think it's probably, if you were to do a study on it, I think it's probably going to be hard to find any correlation between the two, just because of the nature of the sport. Like, but I think it definitely does make a difference in terms of the clinch and grappling and stuff like that.
Yeah, like it should do. Like I guess with guys with bad footwork, I think it'd make a huge difference, because guys who have good footwork could probably work in those confines a bit easier. But guys who just move back and forth and don't necessarily have that good footwork, I think it could affect. But I like it. But I do like the Apex. I think the Apex is cool as fuck. I think it looks way better in the Apex than it does in an empty big arena.
Yeah, the Apex looks really good. Yeah. Sorry, I just seen Tail of the Tape said there, if Aldo wins, do you all think the UFC will screw Aldo over again and book Aldo v Moraes too? Yes.
They'll
because then it'll be that Moraes technically lost his last fight.
Yeah. They'll do the Aldo McGregor rematch. They'll fucking they'll stretch our Conor in. Yeah, they'll stretch our Conor in on a fucking Jesus, remember Conor at 145? That was horrific.
Like, he looked okay at the start of his career, but then come the Aldo fight and that, he looked really rough.
Yeah, really bad. This is El Cordo. Does Conor have a problem with attention? Yeah, I think so.
Loves it.
Loves it. Salvastola, will Tyquil Woodley versus Colby Covington happen? Did they say they
Probably.
signed some
Yeah,
kind of
well,
contract, right?
Tyron has said he's been
Tyron did.
offered and accepted it.
Hmm.
So, but that's all we have on it. But yeah, I think it probably will happen.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense. A couple
Yeah.
of years ago,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't particularly want to see the fight. I don't think it's a great one for Tyron. It's a fucking rough one to take, coming off 10, the back of 10 straight rounds lost.
I think that's what I thought it was like a fight that we kind of missed out on, you know? Like, I thought it was a fight, if that happened 3 years ago, probably, I think it was, when Darren Till got the title fight. I thought that was the perfect time for it to happen. And I think we kind of missed out on that one because, like, as much shit as Colby Covington gets, he's a great fighter. He's a really, really good fighter. And the same way Tyron Woodley, like, he gets, I don't know actually, Colby Covington probably gets less shit now than Tyron Woodley gets for his whole rap thing, which is hilarious. But yeah, I think it's one we missed out on. And even if we do get it, I personally think Tyron Woodley is past his best.
Yeah,
I really do.
It definitely looks that way. I said before, I think he can definitely still get some wins in the top 15, but I think Colby's probably a stretch too far.
I agree, and Andrew Hibbs agrees with that. Make sure you throw your questions in. What time did we start this at, actually? I think it was like 22, wasn't it? Something like that.
Because someone forgot to go live.
Anyway, we'll be going for like an hour and change, so it'll be for another while. So make sure you get your questions in and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'm just gonna go back up onto the top of this live chat. Let me jump back into the card actually, because there were some fights I want to talk about. Aljo and break my heart. Aljamain Sterling beats Corey Sandhagen in the first round after 1 minute and 28 seconds. Great performance, like unbelievable performance by Aljamain Sterling. Tough loss for Corey, but at least it wasn't like a horrible knockout. He got caught by a really good loss. Yeah, exactly. He got caught by a really good submission guy. And what I found impressive about Corey was he got out a forced choke, which wasn't necessarily under the chin, so it wasn't really a choke, but that face crank is fucking nasty. And it was at the beginning of a round where they're both dry, and Aljamain Sterling has like all of his energy, and he was just squeezing that. I thought that was done right there. Gets out of that, and then Aljo finishes it. Brilliant performance. He should be next for the winner of Jan and Aldo. I'm just not so sure he will be.
I think he's probably going to have to fight in the meantime, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so too. Sorry, so Andrew Hibbs was just talking about Tyron Woodley. They've fallen in and out of love with you. that thing. But yeah, I think he probably will, and it's unfortunate. Like, I don't know. This is just like, why do they put Cody Garbrandt above him in the co-main event? Same weight class. He's coming off losses, and it's not even a main event. Like, he's not like selling tickets or selling fucking pay-per-views here. I think it kind of tells you how they feel.
I don't think you can even make the argument for Cody. I know who he is, but I don't think there's a legit argument there for Cody Garbrandt getting the next shot.
I don't think there's definitely not like
3 brutal losses.
But there wasn't an argument for Aldo either.
Yeah. You're coming when you're trying to make that argument. You do come back around like to Dana's thing where he's like, we kind of won his last fight.
Yeah. Like, he could easily come out and say, well, Cody just beat a top 5 bantamweight in Rafael Sunsao. Sunsao has been around for a long time. Has barely been finished. Been finished once or something. And like, everyone would be like, yeah, Cody, let's do it. And like, Cody Garbrandt is great, and that was an unbelievable performance. But Aljo has been grinding, and he's been beating guys in that top 10 for the last couple of years since that Moraes lost. And Corey at this point, I think, is like, if Corey fought Sandhagen, did they fight actually? I'm trying to think of. I think they did, didn't they? Last fight.
Corey and a Sunset fight, yeah.
Yeah, and I think he wins that fight handily. Again, it was a decision, but like, I think he wins it handily. So a bit of MMA maths, but like,
if you were the matchmaker in the UFC, they haven't announced Aldo and Jan. So what do you do?
Aljo and Jan.
What do you do at the other bantamweight? So what's your matchmaking? Do it.
I like the cruise idea with Garbrandt. I think that's good. I like that. Although, like, at this point, if you're a promoter, I'm like, do we really want to put Garbrandt in there with someone like Cruz already?
Yeah.
Maybe give him a Sun South type, and let's build him back up. So maybe a different way, but I like that. And then who else do you have? You have in terms of winners,
What do you do?
Marlon Moraes, Sandhagen. I don't know, a couple of rungs down that ladder. Someone like between 5 and 10, anyway. But I think he'll be back. I really do.
Yeah, he's still young age.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking. We should tell the audience as well what happened. So we done like a pick'em thing in work. And the scores ended up being, what was it? Like there was 1 point between 4 people, right?
Yeah. So myself and another guy finished fairly comfortably towards the bottom.
You don't have to reveal the points or anything like that.
Yeah, we're not going to reveal the points. And then yourself and former host of the show, Noel, came joint second. Oh no, sorry, I miscounted. Did you see that? So you actually came outright second with 22 points. Yeah.
Unbelievable
because I miscounted. And then Noel had 20. And then first place was 23 points, so you're a point behind.
How many points is it for a win? If you pick the winner, how many points is it? 2. Who did I pick last week on the show? And I was like, I'm not really confident on it, but I'm sticking with it.
You picked the Sunset.
I picked Cody Garbrandt on the show.
Oh, sorry, you did. You picked the Sunset on the picks.
And I changed my mind. I panicked, and I was like, I gotta go with the Sunset.
You just threw shit at the wall, and some of it's like one of them was going to be right.
No. I was confident in that Cody pick, even though I clearly wasn't.
Yeah.
It would have been the win anyway. Sal leaving the chat, but he's listening to us in the shower on Bluetooth.
That's
beautiful.
Comforting.
Yeah, great show so far. Thank you. Clint Reeves, what's up, my buddies from across the pond? What's up? Sal finally swimming with the fishes. Great stuff. Let me jump back into the community tab so we don't miss any of them, and get your questions in the live chat, please. That'd be great. Cejudo SZN. People are talking about how stacked the welterweight division is, but nobody mentions Wonderboy, and he came out with an amazing performance versus Vicente Luque. In my opinion, Wonderboy is the second best at welterweight on his day, behind Usman. Where do you guys rank him? Yeah, like he's kind of the forgotten guy at welterweight, isn't he? And you know what I find with Wonderboy, it's like, because he's such a distinct style, like he matches up with some people really well and then some people really badly. And I think that Tyron fight was a really bad fight for him, because Tyron fights so reserved, and like Wonderboy, despite taking the center of the cage for a lot of his fights, he still is a counter puncher, a counter striker. He likes to fight in that sense, and Woodley just doesn't give you any of that. So I thought that was a bad fight for him. So like, I don't know, I think Usman's a bad fight for him as well in terms of the wrestling, but that striking is good.
Yeah, I think it's tough to see a path to the title for Wonderboy at the minute. And he's a perfect 170er, isn't he? As well, like he's a genuine 170 guy. He's not making 155 anything.
No.
He's too small for 185. But yeah, he's always going to struggle with guys like Tyron and
Usman. Yeah, I'd love to see how that one would play out, though. I really would. Like, he's beaten some wrestlers, but yeah, that Luque fight was great, though. And it was after the Anthony Pettis fight too, where he got knocked out. So
Pettis sparked him.
Yeah, so it's good to see. Like, he took a few shots in that Luque fight and didn't really look too bad. So
I don't know what you do next to him though. It's a tough one.
Yeah, I don't know. He's not being discussed. It's kind of like Moraes, isn't it? At Bantam.
He's in the rankings. I don't know. Chiesa is up the rankings down now.
Yeah.
155. Do you do that fight?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. It's not the kind of fight that I think Wonderboy wants at this stage, though, is it?
Yeah, it's not really. Like, he probably just wants big fights. You know?
It's not a very sexy fight. Not a sexy fight at all. Aaron Rabbit, which bantamweight impressed you most? Before we do that, let's talk about the other big bantamweight performance on the card. Of course, it was Sean O'Malley. Looked very, very good in terms of the hairstyle. Very jealous of the length of that hair, but looked very good in terms of everything. And a walk-off KO just like Cody Garbrandt. Very good performance by Sean O'Malley against a good opponent in Eddie Wineland, despite him being like a bit long in the tooth.
Well, looking at where O'Malley is in his career, that's a really good win. Like he's still so young, and so fresh in his career.
Yeah, like we saw it with somebody else. We saw it with Chase Hooper. You could clearly, like, I know, like, there are two different kind of stages. Like, Chase Hooper is a lot younger, but a similar amount of fights. But I think in terms of like O'Malley's physical development, he's just much further along, and his skill as well. But really good performance. So now that we talked about that, but amazing knockout, which was a bit better knockout, by the way. There was a bit of discussion. Was it the Garbrandt one or the O'Malley one?
I was probably more impressed with Cody's performance, and probably I think O'Malley's knockout is better.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for Garbrandt because, do you know what? I go because I rewinded that one more to rewatch it than I did with O'Malley, so I'll say that.
Yeah.
But
I kind of copped out a little bit there. I was more impressed with Garbrandt's performance, just given the 3 losses and how he came back and looked composed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think O'Malley's one is probably a little bit better for me.
Yeah.
Although you're right, I did probably watch Garbrandt a lot more.
Yeah. So, who were you more impressed with? I'll go first on this one because I let you go first on the knockout. I was most impressed with, in terms of those 3 bantamweights. We're not going to put Stamen in because he fought at 145, but we'll talk about him. I was most impressed with Sterling, despite it going, like, it was very short. So, like, if Corey and Sterling fought again, I wouldn't necessarily say Sterling wins 100% of the time. I think it's a very even fight. I think it was just an amazing night for Sterling. Great performance, but I was just very impressed with how we got that finish on a good guy. A lot of pressure on him going into this one as well. So yeah, I think Sterling for me was the most impressive.
Yeah, probably Sterling for me as well. Because it was the most important fight on the after the title fight. Obviously, it was the most important fight on the card. I think there was a lot of pressure on it. It was 2 really evenly matched guys. I know on our picks thing, everyone I think one person picked Sandhagen. So to come out and make it look that easy was really impressive.
Did the person who won the thing pick?
I don't think so.
Aljo, interesting.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, one of the guys who was tied first did pick.
Yeah. Very interesting. I want to talk about. Is there any more questions actually there? Get your questions in the chat before we. Well, we still have a little bit left, but yeah. I want to talk about that Chase Hooper fight because I think a lot of people were talking about it. It's a tough one for Chase because he's really fighting an uphill battle now in the UFC, I think, because he's still very, very young in his career. I think he got there way too early, and I honestly feel like the best thing for him would be to go and fight somewhere else. I don't know how much you can develop fighting on such a stage, and like even like this, still such a stage, even though there was no fans there, but like just fighting in the UFC in general, I just don't know if you can develop your skills at such a young age and develop your body, develop everything when you're consistently in camp trying to fight some absolute killer. So I don't know. I don't feel good about Chase Hooper's future. I'll say that, even though I think he's a good fighter.
It's an interesting one. And you know what, to be fair to me, his game as fuck the whole fight. He kept coming forward as well. He didn't really give in or anything. It wasn't that he never ever looked like winning the fight really. But he kept coming forward, he kept throwing shots, he kept trying to win the fight.
Yeah.
Which was impressive in its own right. But yeah, I mean, he was on Dana's Contender Series, wasn't he? And they signed him to one of those developmental contracts. So they signed him and then he went and fought elsewhere and then came to the UFC, which is a tough one. It's hard to, do you say to him, go and do that again? That's a tough one for him to do. I don't know. I think you could see a world where he gets cut and then has to fight his way back.
Yeah.
Which is a rough one on him. But I think if the UFC were genuinely looking out for him and wanted to build him, you go say, go fight in the regional scene for another couple of years. That's too so young. Time for you.
Yeah. I think that's right. I think it's a really tough one. Like, we've seen so many young fighters like that just not make it to the level we thought they were going to make it to. Like, I still contest that Sage Northcutt is better than what we've seen. It's just he just wasn't given time to develop what he,
Sorry, go on.
No, I'm just saying he was never given time to develop, and I think when you take such high profile losses so early and such damaging losses as well, in terms of like, you're, you know, taking big shots. I think it's really, really tough.
Yeah, and it's such a it's literally the biggest stage you can fight on. And when you get signed so young, some people rise to it and some people don't. And not rising to it is fine. You're still so young in your career. You can go fight elsewhere and learn your trade and then come back. It's just that some, like, if you Max Holloway took those losses early on in his UFC career, then went on to become one of the best featherweights of all time. You know, you learn from it. Sometimes the UFC is the right place for you to learn, sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
Just because it's not right from now doesn't mean it won't be right from in 5 years' time when he's a bit older and a bit wiser.
Yeah. I remember Dan Hardy, I think it was, who took a long time to sign with the UFC. I think he was like offered a few times to get to the UFC, and he was like, nah, I need more time. Which I like, you know. Unpopular opinion from Max B. Get ready for this one, lads. Dustin Poirier has no chin and is overrated. Holy moly.
I will respectfully disagree.
I think that was kind of right at 145 in terms of the chin.
That was weight cut induced as well, though. I mean, we've seen that now at 55.
That's what I mean.
He's developed into a killer, man, at 55. Do you know what I did, actually? I watched the like half hour Justin Gaethje highlight reel over the weekend just because I was bored.
Yeah.
That Poirier fight was insane.
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. It was amazing. Jan van der Bos talked about the Fight Island being in Abu Dhabi. Nice evening cards for us in Europe. I'm not so sure, to be honest.
Do you think?
Oh. I think they might just, you know, there's no crowd, so they don't need to adjust it for a crowd. So like they can just do it whatever time they want.
Yeah, but Abu Dhabi. I was gonna say, you know what? I was gonna say something ridiculously stupid.
What are you gonna say?
When you done the Khabib card in Abu Dhabi, they own the gate. I was going to say, if they own the gate, but there is no gate. So
no gate.
Yeah, we see.
Yeah, I'm not very confident.
I hope so. I really hope.
I hope so. Maybe some of them, but I think like if they're doing any pay-per-views there, there's no way it's our time. Not a chance. You know, just saying. David Little, if this version of Ryan Bader returned to the UFC to take on DC, who wins? I think DC smashes him. I don't think it's close. I don't think it's close.
I think DC just have a perfect game plan for him.
I don't know if like Ryan Bader got that much better going to Bellator. Like I think he's still the same kind of fighter. He's just fighting some lesser talent at times.
I agree. I think he just looks better in Bellator.
Yeah, he can eat more because he's fighting a heavyweight, but I don't see him beating.
Like the UFC's heavyweight division is fairly thin, so I don't know what like Bellator's must be even thinner. So I think he can just look better at Bellator.
Yeah. We talking Masvidal. This is Andrew Hibbs in the live chat. I thought what Chael said was bang on when you get invited to the loft, leave the ladder down like Nate did for him. Don't quite get the analogy.
Yeah, do I? I think, to be fair to Masvidal, everything he said has been spot on. He came with his numbers. He said, you know, we're bringing in this amount of revenue and only getting 18% of it compared to the NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB. Yeah. Those guys are getting somewhere between 45 and 50%. They're all unionized. They all get paid weekly wages as well.
Yeah.
They all get a salary. I don't think you're never going to see fighters get a salary, but they certainly don't get compensated the way they should. This whole independent contractor bullshit that Dana likes to purport that they're, you know, independent contractors, they can't go fight elsewhere. The UFC dictates what gear you have to wear. If you say you're not fighting, it's grand. They'll just stick some time. If you have 6 fights left in your contract, they'll just extend that contract. There's no final date on the contract, so you're tied down. They own you. If you fight and you look bad, they can cut you, no problems. It's Dana's full of shit.
I think I do think what Masvidal has been saying has been like it's weird that like a guy like Masvidal, who like is very intelligent, like not educated and like he was college educated, but like in terms of like the stuff that he's talking about, he seems to know what he's talking about. And then when you hear Dana White talking about it, you're like, he's just talking nonsense, and that's probably partially because he doesn't want to reveal anything. So there's that, but like it's kind of
Dane
funny.
is trying to distract through bullshit. Like
Yeah,
he points away. He just again he shouts really loud, and his hands get really animated, and he goes red, and
yeah,
he calls you an idiot, and he says that's a stupid question, and he talks a lot without answering the question.
yeah. Clint Reeves mentioned that he signed a contract for his pay though, and recently, and that is true. Like that is a thing. But the thing with these contracts is that like they're not being coerced into signing them, but in a way they kind of are, because like if they don't sign a contract to fight with the UFC and they still have some fights left in their contract, as Masvidal said, he can't just say, oh well, I don't really want that amount of money, I always want to go somewhere else, because the UFC still have him under contract. They still basically own him. So the only thing that he can do is retire, and that's why we're seeing a lot of people do that. So they can get out of contracts in certain ways, and they obviously agree to these amounts, but the only reason that they agree to these amounts for a lot of the time is because they know that this is the best I'll get, because this is the way the sport works. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's wrong. Like that means that the payout structure is wrong, or right, sorry.
There's a lot of not backhanded stuff, but like what's the word to describe it, just like shady kind of business that goes on with the whole backstage bonus culture. And I mean, Jorge signed this new contract, which for the big guys like McGregor would renegotiate his contract every fight, but every time that contract gets negotiated, it's a 6-fight contract, but it gets renegotiated every fight.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what's done traditionally.
yeah.
But now the UFC will say, no, fuck you, we're not renegotiating to Jorge. Like there's nothing in writing to say that his next contract will be renegotiated at his next fight. The fighters have very little in writing protecting them or giving them any rights.
Yeah, they're locked into like really restrictive contracts, and again they sign them, but like I don't know, it's a very weird situation, and it's not going to change until something big happens.
It's not changing anytime soon. I mean, now it's interesting now that you have Cejudo, Jones, and because the whole thing is the UFC have always just said, well, we can wait it out longer, not having you fight, then you can wait us out, not fighting, because you need to fight more than we need you to fight. But how long can they have the likes of Cejudo, Jones, McGregor, Masvidal? Not like they have 4 big names in their own rights. How long can they have them not fighting before ESPN say, what's up here?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know how long they can do that, because the ESPN want them. It's not like they don't. Like it's not like ESPN are spending all this money just for the UFC to throw out these unranked fighters. Yeah, they're good fighters and all, but like they want value for their money as well. It's a crazy situation. Dave Little, if you were to both give me one fighter in any promotion to keep an eye out for in the next 3 years, you reckon it's going to be a star? Any fighter to keep an eye on, Sean?
I'll give you the obvious one from an Irish perspective. It's Ian Gary, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the obvious one.
I'm going to go with Patrick Mix from Bellator.
Nice.
He's a very good young fighter. I think he recently re-signed with Bellator. I think he fought in Ryzen. He beat Rinky Bandeas. But very, very talented fighter, someone to keep an eye on. And I think he's quite young, so I'd go with him. Yeah, that's my pick.
Nice.
Go back in here. Go to the live chat. Sorry. If you have any questions there, Sean, do say.
Clint Reeves said, all I know is I work construction and pay $60 to watch these men fight. They're making quadruple and more of what I make and complaining and holding out. So screw that, man. I will disagree heavily there. So
yeah,
they're wicked on the page. John Nash put up a graph yesterday on his Twitter. John Nash is a great follow for anyone interested in this stuff as well. John Nash put up a graph on his Twitter. It was the percentile bracket of what fighters are paid in boxing, a comparative one in boxing and UFC. The same percentage of UFC fighters earning 500k plus is the same percentage as those earning 75k plus in boxing.
Yeah.
That's insane. There's some low level guys in boxing earning a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And as well, like, if you can go and check out The Athletic, look at their article on fighter pay, it really is an eye opener. And you were talking about it last week briefly, Sean, that you have to look at the expenses as well. And the UFC know about these expenses, and they're expenses that you cannot get around. Like, they are there, they're built in. Tax is a big one, and especially for international fighters who get taxed in their own country, or even like fighters from the US who go fight in one state, they get taxed in that state, and then they also get taxed in their own state. Essentially, a lot of fighters were saying that they're looking at least 30%, sometimes up to 50%, even a little bit higher.
Some of them are looking at 75%.
Yeah, 75%. Yeah.
I think a lot of it was pretty, because the problem is everyone that's taking a cut takes off the top. If you earn 180 and 80 and you win and you earn 160k, everyone's taking off that 160k.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. So they're coaches, everything like that. It's I'd say there's some fighters who don't make anything on their fights. They're basically paying to fight. Like, definitely, I think there's a lot of them. I think like Menafield this weekend made like 15 grand or something, 17 grand or something like that. Like, outrageous.
I seen someone making 12 and 12 that surprised me.
Yeah, that might have been him. Although if it was 12 and 12, he didn't make the other side of it.
Might have been Herbert Burns, actually.
Yeah.
Can't remember.
Go to the live chat. If anyone has any questions, do throw them in. Boxing's dead.
Boxing's out of money, that man.
Yeah.
Like, there's fighters that, for anyone into boxing, or there's fighters at British boxing level, British title level, earning damn good money. Like, they're not that bigger fights.
Yeah. It's sad. How about Dana as a fighter? He was supposed to fight Tito Ortiz at one point. Remember that? They had like a little countdown and all for it. Didn't happen. Unbelievable stuff. And now, like, there's him and some other guy, some reporter, isn't there? Like, with a bit of beef, saying they want to fight. And apparently Masvidal said that he's going to train the reporter.
I'd like to see that.
Go to the community tab. I also want to check out the card, because one fight that I think stood out to a lot of people on the weekend was Cody Stamen against Brian Keller. Keller, a quick turnaround, but the big story going into it was Cody Stamen, whose brother, 18 years old, wasn't he?
I think he was. Still don't know what caused the death.
Passed away in his sleep. I didn't read what it was, but it was obviously recently. It was in the week, was it?
Yeah, it was only a week ago.
Yeah,
they don't know what the cause of that was. So.
Rough, horrible. And Cody Stamen went in there and put on, to be honest, one of his better performances in the UFC. Looked really good. Fairly decisive decision, and afterwards he just broke down completely because of it. But he's someone to keep an eye on. I think we actually interviewed Cody Stamen a few years ago when he first made it to the UFC, and he was fighting Tom Duquesnoy. And obviously he beat Tom Duquesnoy, who was a big prospect. So he's a really good fighter, him. Fighting at 145 this time around, but he says he's going back to 135. But he looked good. Looked really good.
Yeah, a hell of a performance. Do you know what? It was a hell of a performance. If you put all the circumstances aside, that you would have said that was a damn impressive performance. So the way he carried himself in the interview afterwards was amazing. Spoke really well. Looked amazing in the fight. Oh yeah, big ups Cody Stamen. Yeah,
big time. There was also, speaking of fighter pay, if you haven't seen it, Gray Maynard put up a tweet talking about the bonuses he received for the Frankie Edgar fight, and that's one thing that stood out to me, and it is very true. He said that he got a 100k bonus, and he remembered the thought crossed his mind walking to the cage. He was going to be broke if he lost, because he went and spent 20k on the camp. So if you spend 20k in the camp, a lot of guys are not even making 20k, and I know that's a title fight, so it's different, but still, he was only guaranteed 26 for a title fight. But he said that the bonus was basically just hush money because, like, don't tell anybody that you're getting paid so low. Here's 100 grand, which at the end of the day to the UFC, that's not a lot of money. Like, it's a good bonus for Graham Maynard. I'm sure he was ecstatic when he got it. But when you actually think about it in hindsight, he should have been paid a lot more money. Main event of a big pay per view, and then they just throw him 100 grand just to say, "Oh, look, we're gonna bonus you." A little pat on the back there, mate.
Yeah, he echoed a lot of what Jorge Masvidal, sorry, the brain factor. He echoed a lot of what Jorge Masvidal said, and actually just used his own experience with the numbers and stuff. But it was pretty insane when you think about the wars he had with Frankie Edgar. That's all he got paid, really.
I know. I don't know what we're talking about here. Oh, sorry, it's the best and worst tattoos in the game. Andrew Hibbs, so She Wolf asked that, and Andrew Hibbs said Darren Till's portrait, which was his girlfriend, wasn't it? Looks like Paige Van Zandt. And CM Punk, I guess he's talking about the Pepsi. You know what one's pretty bad? The damage. Darren Elkins, when he has the damage across there, it's a pretty bad one. I think there's probably more bad than good, to be honest.
There's like a stereotype. So every fighter, like some fighters have had remarkable success in their careers considering the lack of a bad or a back tattoo. Like, are you really a UFC fighter if you don't have a second name on the back? Like Cerrone has it, Gaethje has it, McGregor has it on his chest. There's some stinkers out there.
Where's McGregor's name? Is it there?
It's on his chest, yeah.
Is it?
It's here, and then there's like some monster here, and then there's a tiger.
Yes, he has the gorilla here, doesn't he?
Yeah. Cody, I'm not a fan of Cody's one. The neck one as well. Not a big.
Oh yeah. That's just like, you don't think it's a bad tattoo. You just don't like the neck tattoo in general, is it?
Yeah, it's not for me. Yeah.
Do you remember the guy? I'm not sure if you remember him, Sean. Freak Show Fletcher. No. Google him when you get a chance. Okay. Do it now, if you can. His tattoos are pretty horrendous. Who else was there? Let me think of good tattoos. Who was a good tattoo in MMA? Who stands out?
Do you know what one I like? And it's probably not going to be one that stands out to anyone. I like the eyes that Justin Gaethje has here. I think they're really cool.
Do you know what they are? I think they're the old bad boy eyes, like the MMA equipment they used to do shorts and all. I think they are. I really think they are.
I like that tattoo. I think that's a nice one.
What about Brock Lesnar?
I think it's a cool one.
What about Brock Lesnar's sword that looks a bit like a dick? The sword right in the middle of his chest.
You know who I'll give some credit, actually? Thiago Santos with Thor's hammer on his fucking chest. That's pretty good.
Bit of credit, yeah. Freak Show Fletcher's pretty bad. I don't like tribal tattoos that much, but Brad Tavares has one, but it's proper. I think it's proper, like Polynesian or whatever the thing is. Looks pretty cool.
Quite like I know the meaning behind them is quite different, but the likes of the Samoan guys and the Oceanic guys, they get those sort of, they're kind of, I don't know if they're kind of tribal, but it's kind of part of their culture. Yeah, some of those ones are cool, like Mark Hunt and Chivasa and some of them. Yeah,
that's Tavares basically has one of them. Alan Belcher had the worst tattoo in MMA. Oh Jesus, Alan Belcher had a tattoo with Johnny Cash on his arm. Bizarre, like very bizarre. Yeah, I can't really think of anybody else. Like, honestly, good. There's not that many. Bad.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot.
It is something I think of every time when I'm watching a fight. I'm like, geez, those tattoos are shit. Cerrone's ones are quite bad as well.
Yeah, they are. Joe's actually quite good. Mark Hunt's tattoo. He has like a chest piece. Yeah. And it's like a kind of a skull type thing. I like that. That's quite good.
His leg one looks quite cool as well. It's that kind of, again, the one you mentioned. I think they look quite cool.
Yeah. I am not the biggest tattoo guy, so apologies for too many. Andrew Hibbs says, think as self-naming tattoos goes, Pettis nailed his.
Pettis has Showtime, doesn't he?
Showtime, yeah. I think that's not too bad because it's not your own name, it's your nickname. Showtime's pretty cool. Don't mind it. A couple more things on that card. We'll probably finish up in the next couple of minutes if you have any more questions, and also hit the like button because it helps us out really a lot. Alex Perez with a knockout finish from leg kicks. You don't see it very often. Ty looked really good against a top contender in Formiga. Very, very good performance. Also, Pitalo, something like that. He looked really good. Charles Board from Fortis MMA is a good fighter. Not a great record, but a good fighter, and I thought that was a good win for him. Did anyone really stand out for you on the card?
Other than sort of the main card that we've talked about. Let me look. Albert Burns looked good.
He did look good, yeah. Looked very good, actually, against a good guy.
Actually, Devin Clark broke his orbital bone in the first round and still won the fight. That's a tough son of a bitch right there.
That is. Again, against another really good guy from Fortis MMA. But really it was, for me, it was the bantamweights. Like, bantamweight is looking good right now. Like, I think if you're going to look at the best weights in MMA, or maybe in the UFC, I think you've got to say lightweight. Bantamweight is right up there.
Bantamweight's hopping right now, yeah.
Absolutely hopping. She-Wolf, is there any decent defense against the calf kicks? Most nobody has really come up with one, so I don't think if say like Henry Hooft or something can't come up with one, definitely not me.
Someone will come up with something or a game plan to negate it, but
I'm sure there's a way to check them. They just seem very difficult to check. They're so low, and I think even the angle, it's kind of hard to see. But that's Andrew Hibbs, get out of the way. Pretty much, just pop in and out.
I seen Luke mention how the calf kicks and the submission that isn't actually under the neck becoming very dominant now in MMA. So just a crank essentially. The guys are just adapting and stuff, which is interesting. Like
it works. It sucks. Like, and if you have a good squeeze, you don't want to be squeezed across the mouth. You know. There was a question about Stipe Miocic as well. He said he's ready. Is that right?
I know. Put out a tweet. I'm ready. Who wants it?
Well, hopefully it's Cormier, but we'll see. I did see Francis Ngannou as well put up something saying stop bitching on social media and hurry up, sign the contract and go fight because he's waiting. Joe would be weird that wouldn't, like, we've had some pretty big fights since the pandemic and stuff, but it'd be quite weird seeing like a heavyweight title fight with no crowd, wouldn't it?
It would be odd. It would be very odd.
So,
I don't know how keen they'll be to do it behind closed doors, but they also need to do fights, so you know.
How far, I think someone asked it as well in the chat, how far do you think we are away from crowds? Seems like some places are actually just jumping straight in. They don't care.
New Zealand haven't recorded a new case in 2 weeks. They're allowing full crowds into rugby over there now.
Seems like a bad idea though, doesn't it? Like, just because you've had one case
in 2 weeks.
I suppose 2 weeks,
I'm not a doctor, but at some case you have to look to move back to normality.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I assume they have precautions in place that if there is a spike, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just thought maybe like half capacity or something like that. Start off with
some sort of social distancing.
But
I don't know. I wouldn't even want to have a guess at when we see crowds again.
Yeah.
I'd imagine America will open up quite fast because they're
just considering. I seen John Anik put up a video, or maybe he just retweeted it. Royal West, how are you? We don't have long left, so if you have any questions, just throw them in the chat. I seen he put up a video of Vegas, the casinos, and the casinos looked hopping. Like they looked hopping.
Yeah.
So who knows? And I know the UFC, like once they get to go ahead, you can bring crowds in. They'll be all over that.
They'll be straight to the state that are allowing.
They will be all over.
Like a rash.
And plenty of MMA fans, even if there's like new cases in the state, they'd be like, yeah, fuck it. Fights. Love it.
Commission said we can do it, so you know.
Yeah. She-Wolf, do you guys prefer with or without crowds? I think with, personally.
Yeah, it's a nice change to watch without crowds, but I mean crowds are where it's at.
Yeah, if you had to pick one or the other, I'd definitely pick crowds. There's definitely some advantages without crowds. Like the Cody knockout, for example, would have been great with a crowd, but the perk of it not being a crowd, you could hear that. Like that was loud, that shot. It was amazing.
Yeah. like even in the Ferguson and Gaethje fight, it was so cool to be able to hear the power in those Gaethje shots.
Yeah.
But can you imagine the crowd in a fight like that? That would have been sick.
Yeah. Yeah, because like the momentum, it's almost like in a movie when they do a score for the movie, not the music in the background, not a soundtrack, but the score. That's almost like what a crowd does to an MMA fight. It kind of gives it that the atmosphere, and that is kind of missing. But yeah, there's definitely some advantages to no crowd for sure. The shots are insane. John Jones as well is still kind of, out there talking about not fighting. He's sticking to his guns so far.
It would be really interesting to see some of these guys, stick to their guns and try and unionize.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be impossible for them to unionize. I just don't see the fighters operating with each other.
No.
Even though it's in their own interests.
Yeah. They need a lot of people, and it has to be a lot of the top guys, and I don't see that happening. But yeah, we've gone for probably about an hour anyway, so I think that's good enough. Sean, have a wonderful next few days. Won't see you tomorrow for the live chat, but as I said at the start of this, we usually do this on a Tuesday, so do subscribe, and we'll be here next Tuesday. But yeah, thanks for joining, and like the video and all that jazz. Sean, it was fun, as always.